And now on Sydney Weekend, cheers with Ben Malouf. Thanks to firstvintage.com.au.
Yeah, look, I want to get to a couple of questions left over from last week, Benny, but first, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dan.
You left me a bottle of sparkling Shiraz last week. It was surprisingly good. Now, we served it cool, but not icy cold. Did we do the right thing?
Yeah, when you say you served it cool, did you take it out of the fridge or did you just serve it at room temperature?
No, it was in the fridge.
Yeah, look, you've served it absolutely perfectly.
Right.
So I like it a little bit off warm. So just that nice little cool. You've got the beautiful flavours coming through, but the coolness just allows it to be a little bit more refreshing.
Okay, what's its origin? We'd never heard of sparkling Shiraz.
Yeah, look, sparkling Shiraz has been made in the Burgundy region of France for hundreds and hundreds of years. And believe it or not, the first time that it was made in Australia was actually 1881 by the Victorian Champagne Company. That was back in the days when we were allowed to call sparkling wine champagne, of course. But yeah, so it's been around Australia for a long, long time. Personally, I think it's one of the most underrepresented wines in the country because I absolutely love sparkling Shiraz.
It was perfect with a steak. Should sparkling Shiraz be served in a champagne glass as we did, or as we did in a standard wine glass?
Yeah, look, it's a hybrid between a red wine and a bubbles. I tend to treat it more like a bubbly than a red wine, so I personally would have served it in a champagne flute.
Right.
Only from the point of view that, it preserves the bubbles a little bit more. And the interesting thing about sparkling Shiraz for me is that, you think Shiraz, you kind of think big, heavy, cold winters.
It's not.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
And that's it. So you serve a little bit chilled. It's actually really refreshing and fruity, and those bubbles are actually really, really refreshing.
Yeah.
And it's a great summer afternoon wine.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to getting into something in about 20 minutes from now. Does China produce wine?
Yeah, look, China does produce wine. China has about 300 or 400 wineries there at the moment. It's an emerging area. I mean, they've been fermenting products for years over in China. In California and Canada, you're actually starting to see some commercial quantities of Chinese wine being exported. But the predominant wine in China being served is either Australian or French.
Okay.
Yeah, so look, they do make wines, and it makes sense that they do because they have the agriculture for it, but they're still importing most of their wines, but I think it's a bit of a watch this space kind of thing.
All right, our palate's always changing. We've talked in the past about wines we used to drink in the 70s, now out of favour. What do you think we'll be talking about in the years to come? What's a wine my listeners can pour in the next couple of weeks and tell their guests this is the next big thing?
Geez. You know what? If I had the exact answer for that, Dan, I think I'd be a very, very wealthy man at this point in time.
All right, I'll let you off. Yeah, go on.
But I would suggest that the way that everybody's palate seems to be going, and what customers are saying to me, grapes like Pinot Gris and Pinot Grigio, I think they're really going to become the next most prominent wines.
We're going to run out of time. Elaine wrote to me during the week, settle another bet. Altar wine served at church is claret.
After 13 years of Catholic education, Dan, I should know this one off the top of my head, but I've always understood some places serve claret, but there's also a lot of places that serve sherry, and it's at the discretion of the priest as to whether it is sweet or whether it's dry.
Well, there you go, Elaine. The answer to your question. Look, we are out of time. That's all we have time for. Thanks, Benny.
Thanks, Dan.
You find him at firstvintage.com.au, firstvintage.com.au. I'm Dan Mullins. You've been listening to Sydney Weekends.